So now we had seen in the previous video that if we had to refer to a file in the form of absolute path, we start from the root and travel all the way to that using all the directory names, and finally we reach the file. Now if you wanted to refer to a file or folder which is currently in your working directory, fine, here, like if we have already opened documents directory and foo and resume are over here, and if we wanted to do any kind of operation on these files, fine, let's say I just wanted to print the size of the file or any command I wanted to use on these particular files, it wouldn't make sense that I gave the path like slash home slash user a slash document slash foo. And every time if we have to do this, sometimes when you are in a very long level of subdirectories and all, it will become quite difficult, fine. Now the absolute path concept is that to you give it from the beginning, and that gives you an advantage that that path reference remains the same every time from whatever location you are. The absolute path is useful for files that are system files, and we know that they are going to be there generally, fine. It's not a rule, but it's preferred. Now relative path usually we will use when we are working in a particular folder and or directory, and we want to refer to a file or directory within that folder or some subfolder or subdirectory or some file which is outside my current folder or directory. That way we can use the concept of relative path, fine. The simplest thing is that when you are working with relative path with your command, when you have to pass a file name as the argument, you can simply refer to the file with the its own name. So how we can do it on the command line, let's have a look at it. So let's say I'm going to use the ls-l command, fine, or ls-s command, which basically gives you the size of the file, or we could stick to ls-l, fine. So first of all, let's do a ls-l. Now here we are not giving any command, so some commands will just consider the current working directory as its argument, and here ls-l gives me some information about this. Now with respect to my current location, which you can check with pwd, you can see the current location is home Dexter, fine. Now in this scenario, these files right now are in my current working directory. So if I wanted to refer to this file, what we can do is ls-l add user.conf, fine. So this file is listed, so this gets as an argument, or when the absolute path is not mentioned, the system will assume that this file is in your current working directory. I'm referring to that. If I wanted to refer to, let's say, a file which is in documents, fine, so I would do a ls-l documents. I'm not passing any slash or anything, and then I could say some file name. Let's say I have copied already a file called as password into that, and here I can list that particular file. So now try to understand what I'm doing is my reference with respect to my current working directory. These are subdirectories, and I can refer to the subdirectory name slash that path. So this reference is a relative path with respect to my current location. So if we take that image again, so I'm in home inside this user A, in this case it is Dexter, and I'm referring to documents and some file inside documents, fine. Now the relative path would change if I would have been in downloads. Then I will have to refer to the parent directory first, then refer to the directory inside which this file is. So this way the path is a relative path from another location reference to a file. I could relatively refer to a file over here also with respect to my current location. For that we have to understand one concept, how to refer to the parent, fine. So to refer to the parent, in every directory when you do a ls-a, you will see two entries, a dot and double dot. Now I'll discuss and demonstrate what dot and double dot are, but here just understand double dot is the reference to the parent directory and dot is the reference to current directory, fine. So in many times people who have worked on different operating systems, they might have seen that when you do a cd dot dot, people say you come out of the directory. So basically a dot dot, since it's a reference to the parent directory, you change to the parent directory, you're not coming out or going in somewhere in the reference. Again, we'll discuss about that concept in another video. But remember, dot dot is a reference to the parent directory, and dot is the reference to current directory. So in certain cases also, since we are discussing about this, an interesting aspect is that sometimes you will have some executable programs or something, or if you want to make sure or tell the system that file in the current directory, you could always use the reference of dot slash. Be careful, not slash, dot slash. Dot is a reference to current directory, slash is our delimiter, and I can say this file name or directory name. So the reference to any file or directory in the current working directory or your present working directory can be done without the dot or can be done directly, or you can use the dot slash and the file name, which means the current directory and the file in the current directory. Fine. So dot slash reference can be used. This is sometimes also used or required when you want to run some executable program from your current working directory. Especially it will be required when you will be running shell scripts. Okay, keep that in mind. So dot is a reference to current directory, double dot is a reference to parent directory. So let's get back our image and try to understand this. Now if I would have been in documents, fine, then any reference to a file in user A means the parent of document is user A. I will have to use the double dot notation. Double dot notation refers to the parent. Interestingly, if you use double dot slash another double dot, parent of user A becomes home. Fine. So this way you could traverse up to a particular parent and then follow another route. We will see that example later on. First, let's try to visualize this, how it can be done. So first of all, let's see what is our current working directory is this, and here we have already these two files. So let's change to documents. Fine. Now see, my current working directory is home Dexter documents, and inside this Dexter or this directory hosts add user and this particular file over here. Fine. So if I wanted to refer to a file in my parent, I could refer it by saying say ls is the command. So the reference path will become dot dot, which means the parent. Then I'm going to put a slash, and then I'm going to say add user conf. So now what this means is go to the parent and then slash look for a file or directory called as this. Fine. Now if I do a L, if this would be wrong, it will give me an incorrect output. Otherwise, we will see output for this. Fine. So in the similar way, I could use the double dot multiple times to refer to any file in my tree structure. So again, if we go back to this FSH, and in etc there is a FS tab. Fine. I have copied this from here. So from the current location, if I wanted to refer to etc, though it really doesn't make sense because it's a straightforward way in an absolute path to refer to that, but to understand how it goes, so if I am in documents, I have to first refer to my parent user A, then refer to its parent, so home, and then refer to its parent root. Now after this we have to traverse to etc. So now then we will have to give the when we are going downwards or inwards into a directory, you can say, we will use the name of the directory slash this thing. So I will need to traverse up to this whole path and then follow this particular path. So let's try it out in our situation also, because this structure is somewhat similar and etc fs tab does exist in our system. So if I wanted to do a ls-l for that particular file, so first of all I will have to traverse to the parent of documents, that is the home, the Dexter directory you can see over here. Then above this will be the home, then above home will be our root. Fine. After this I have to traverse to the etc directory, and after etc there is going to be fs tab. So you can see this is a relative path with respect to the current location. Fine. If I do a pwd, as you can see, I traverse the first two dots take me to the parent, second two dots take me to home, the two dots with respect to home takes to the root, and then after root directory we follow the etc fs tab path. But try to understand, we could have done this ls-l directly with this much of path etc fs tab, with an absolute path also. So you have to think logically where you want to use this or use the other one. But to give you an understanding how I am referring to a file with a relative path, I have used this relative path format. Fine. Now let's do one thing. I will come out of the document directory. So cd command you will be commonly using. Dot dot means change to the parent directory. So I have changed to the parent directory of documents, which you can see is home dexter now. And here we have a file over here. So let's change to downloads. Sorry, DOWN, downloads. And now what I want to do is I want to refer to a file inside documents. So let's have a look at our diagram again. So if I'm in downloads and I wanted to refer to any file in this location, now what's going to happen is that I will have to first say a dot dot, which takes me to the parent. Inside the parent is documents, and then inside the documents is the file which I want to refer. So here, so first of all, ls-l is the command, and now my reference to the file will come with absolute path, no, sorry, relative path. So I will say dot dot slash, which takes me to the parent, and inside the parent I know documents is there. So I will say documents, and inside documents is the fstab file, a reference to that. And you can see now I could refer to the documents directory which is in the parent, and then I followed the remaining path. So what we did was, over here I was inside downloads, I said dot dot, which took me to the parent. In the parent is the document directory, and inside the document directory is the required file. So I could do a reference like this also. Very interestingly, let us say we are inside this, or still we are inside downloads, and we wanted to refer to this songs.ogg. So let's get our text editor over here. Fine. And let's try to have a look at that particular reference ogg with respect to this location. Fine. So okay, these are from the previous video. Let's remove that. So with respect to downloads, first of all, I will have to go to the parent, which is dot dot slash, immediately give a slash over here. Now, which is user A. Now the parent of user A is home. So I have to traverse till home because I want to get into user B. So I will have to say dot dot slash again. Now I have reached home location. After that, I have to traverse downwards and I have to reach to this. So after this, I will say user B. After that, I will say downloads. And after that, I'm going to say songs.ogg. So this is a reference to this file from this particular location. Interestingly, this relative reference would be similar if you are in the documents directory also, because if you see, if you are in documents, you still have to go to user A, home, traverse to B, traverse to this. But if you consider your location here in this document directory is your present working directory, then this reference is not going to work. So relatively, this path is relatively suitable from this current working location. Luckily, it will also be suitable from this current working location. But keep in mind, relative paths are with respect to your current working location or your present working directory, and you cannot use the same path all the time everywhere. So that's what I was saying. If I wanted to refer to songs.ogg from this documents directory, fine, this one, then I have to traverse to home, which will be dot dot slash. And since in this user B, this users B home directory, I will traverse downwards. So I'll have to say DOW downloads and then songs dot ogg. Fine. So over here you can see this is a relative path with respect to this location, documents location, or you can say any subdirectory, immediate subdirectory under B could use this reference, because one will have to traverse to user B first with the dot dot and then traverse inwards to the remaining path of that particular one. So the point is that while using different commands like copy, move, rename, delete, or any other commands where we'll be giving the file references, we have to refer to the files. Dependent upon your situation and requirement, you can use absolute path or relative path. Like for example, in the copy command, we need two parameters: from where to copy the file and from where it has to be copied. Fine. So we need a source and a target over there. Both path has to be given. So in certain situations, let us say you wanted to copy fstab file into documents. So if you are already into documents directory, what you could do is, I'll give you an example. You would say copy command and you will say slash etc slash fstab. Fine. Now this is an absolute path which I'm giving to fstab, and where I wanted to copy is here itself. So how do you specify here itself? You can specify it with a dot slash. Fine. Remember, dot is this. Suppose we were not in documents and we were in user A and I wanted to copy it in documents. In that case, I could say dot slash documents. Fine, like this. So copy etc fstab into document folder or directory when you are inside user A, or maybe if you are inside user B also, this could work. The idea is that if you are already located over here, this is nearby and relative to your location, so use a relative path, and referring to this with a absolute path is much more sensible or easier, so use the absolute path. Fine. So over a period of time, when you keep on working, you will understand where you could easily use relative paths, absolute paths, and that's the concept behind the relative path with respect to your working location.